what I would tell people is don't chase wins, chase your culture. What you want that culture to look like, what you want it to be, how you envision it. Chase that every day. And and don't ever assume you're going to have a finished product.
Welcome to the JAMODI Podcast. Today we're joined by the head boys basketball coach at Flower Bluff High School, Brandon Bourg. Coach Bourg is in his 16th year of coaching, 11th as a head coach. His career record is 224 wins and 124 losses. Before Flower Bluff, Coach Bourg led Corpus Christi Ray to a district championship. Over the past 6 years at Flower Bluff, he's led the Hornets to a district championship and 6 consecutive playoff runs. He's been named District Coach of the Year 3 times and was a TABC Don Coleman Award finalist in 2019. Coach Bourg is the TABC Region 4 Coordinator and THSCA Basketball Advisory Committee member. Before we hear from Coach, take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media at JAMODI Podcast.
Welcome to the Ballology app Ultimate Demo. Trusted by leaders in the game. Ballology is a player development platform built for coaches and players alike. You can expect live shot tracking, workout libraries, and AI insights. You can easily chart team shooting drills in practice or in training sessions. Track all of those shots using an iPhone or an Android device in real time. You can view your team's performance through a video archive or by using our shot charts. After every shooting workout, take a look at your breakdown by viewing your percentages and your shot locations. Let's take a deeper look to learn how to make the most out of the Ballology app. Let's see how you measure up in the Ballology Skills Assessment, where you can test your shooting skills versus other shooters worldwide. Navigate to Ballology AI, where you can ask any question to get answers in real time for smarter training.
Make that footwork a little more sharp.
Coaches or players can create custom workouts in just minutes. Hit your on-court skills or basketball IQ or even strength and conditioning. It can be done on the Ballology app. Compete with everything you do on the Ballology app through our workout leaderboards. Elevate your game with the Ballology app. Download it for free today.
Well, how you doing, man?
Good. Yourself? Really looking forward to this. So a little nervous.
No worries at all. And the pleasure's all mine. I really enjoy getting to talk with any coach, but high school coaches. And
Yeah.
I think you and I are in very similar places in our journey as far as, how far into it we are. Some would say we're kind of both right in the middle. We're not starting out, but we're also not 30 or 40 years in.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm excited for the opportunity as well.
For sure. Yeah, it's pretty accurate. Definitely, I think this is year 17 total for me and 11 as a head coach. So yeah, kind of right there along the journey.
But it's kind of that moment where you have to really figure out, am I a lifer or not? Like, is this my calling?
Yep.
Or do I need to pivot and turn? And that moment for me was a few years ago, right around COVID, and just there are fun things about this job and amazing experiences we get to have with young people, but there's tough times too.
Mm-hmm.
And, when COVID hit and going through some of those tough times, and then, the financial idea of, okay, I'm kind of stuck right where I am.
Yep.
Then there's probably ways that I can make more money. I checked out real estate. I got my license. I helped two family members and one family I didn't know. I helped them from beginning to end find a home. And all that work, I realized if basketball is not a part of it, then I'm not that passionate about it. And so I realized then that this is it. Like, this is what I'm called to do, what I want to do, and what I enjoy doing through the good times and the bad.
Yeah, no, it's I actually have a coaching friend who did the same thing. He was college level coach. I eventually came down to the high school level. I was at a pretty successful private school and was still the basketball coach, but got in, tried to, I think it was an admin role for the campus, but still got to be the the basketball coach. And, he kind of made that same choice. He went into real estate, and he's still in it. He's kind of, I guess, made that choice, but he still gets his basketball fix by he runs local youth leagues and skills training sessions. And I actually help him out with some of those things too. So, you can certainly still get your basketball fix, so to speak. But I just, for me, I'm at that point where it's not even about wins and losses, and it's about building a team, and seeing that team that, in our world, it changes every year. Kids are going to graduate. Kids might move away. You may get a kid that moves in, whatever the case may be. It's going to change every single year. And to see that whole process, morph together by the end result, from where you started at first day of school or summer workouts to where it ends, if you're fortunate enough, you make it into March. If you make the playoffs, you're mid late February. But every year is different. And I think it's really cool to see that. I'm still driven by that process. And so I've had the same thoughts that you did about, is this what I want to do? I'm the son of two coaches. And so my mom and dad coached and were in education. They were lifers, and so for now I still am, but just like you said at the beginning here, it's a very fine line between where I am now and, okay, I'm committed to this for the next probably 17, 18, 20 more years if you are going to be a lifer.
And I'm glad you clarified that, because I am in no way saying that a guy that decides to go real estate, that he has left coaching, left basketball. You can do it so many different ways, and you're right on the money there. But there is something, like you just said, unique about taking a group of guys that, and I've try to tell my team now at Midway, actually I just said my team, but the guys at Midway all summer and all fall, like, we're not a team yet. A team is a title that I think is earned, and it takes time. And you got to have that sweat and time equity poured in before you can call yourself a team. And so, that's such a unique part of getting to do this. And at the high school level, it's even more challenging because of you said, most of us can't choose our players.
Oh yeah.
So whoever God has brought into the gym, this is who we're going to work with.
Yep.
And in some way, fellas, we're going to become a team. And we don't know when. It's kind of like shooting. Coach, when will my shot become better? I don't know. It takes what it takes.
That's right.
It's going to be one day where there's that click moment, and it's all the reps before then. I think becoming a team is the same way. And I loved your point about, it made me think of Bob Starkey. I was talking with him. Just an honor to get to have him on.
Man, you got a heck of a guy there.
Oh yeah, and it was fun. He was talking about PGC came up, and I just thought, man, he would be awesome with PGC.
Awesome.
Like all the culture stuff he does, he just fits right in. And he said that they had talked to him about it, and a friend of his said, if you leave coaching, you will miss being part of a team. And I think when you and I think about this, I mean, I don't know when you started playing. Like for me, it was 9. I've really been a part of a team since 9.
Mm-hmm.
How do I not have a team? And you can do select, and you can do skill work, and you can do all those things. But the daily grind of 185 days of seeing those dudes, and grind to me isn't a bad word, but that's what's special.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you right there.
This time of year, I mean, we've got about 20 days or so, until we get going. So I think this is a fun question to ask about your favorite thing or best thing that you borrowed lately that you're thinking is going to lead to more fun, more success with your team.
Yeah. Obviously there's so much content out there nowadays, between social media, uploading things to YouTube, so many skills trainers, everyone has access to basically everything now. So like from my assistant coaches and we've got group text, and I mean, I bet half that group text is some random Twitter or Instagram post of, hey, look at this drill. We do this already, but look how they do it. It's like, there's so many things out there. So I actually ended up choosing with that question. I wanted to go back to TABC Clinic this past May. And Coach Andre Cook from St. Edward's University, who I've gotten to know over the last handful of years, and I've seen him speak now 3 times at different clinics. And to me, that high-low motion offense and what, his twists and stuff he puts with it, and the way he explained it with his best player, who actually was, I think, out for the season this last year, was basically his like 3/4 position player. And I looked at our team that's coming back and, talking with our coaches, and we all were like, look, our 2 best players are our 4 and our 5. They're both 3-year lettermen coming into this year. They were both full-time starters last year. They were both first-team all-district players. Those are our 2 guys. What offense? Because we had run a lot of Princeton stuff, chin actions and point actions in particular, the last 4 or 5 years. And we really liked the player movement, the cuts, and the, different reads. But we really wanted to try to focus on what type of offense can get these 2 guys the ball in their hands to make the best decisions for not just themselves, but to put our team in the best position to be successful. And Coach Cook present at TABC, we looked at I record a lot of those things on my own, and we went back and we watched it. And one of my assistant coaches is big on the Chat GPT AI stuff. He basically spoke into it the whole time, and it ends up printing out this like really insane document of bullet points, and if this, then that. I mean, first of all, the amount of stuff that AI can do is crazy, but
insane. Yeah.
Yes,
we need to use that more as coaches for sure. Yeah.
And I'm glad he did, because it saved us all kinds of time being able to go, hey, you know what? He made it into, after it, spewed everything out, he just copies all that, pastes it to a Google Doc, shares it, and we've got it. It was a matter of minutes. Yeah. But obviously, going back to Coach Cook's offense and stuff, because of the reads and as he calls it, the tells of if the pass goes here, this is the action we're in, and these are the reads we're getting. Well, a lot of those reads were already a lot of the point series stuff that we had been using quite a bit the last 4 or 5 years with our program. So we kind of looked at it like, yes, we are tweaking the offense we run. And you tell a 15 to 18-year-old kid like, hey guys, we're gonna add something to the offense, and they're probably thinking, oh my gosh, like it's gonna be so new and this and that. There's just a couple of minor tweaks, and it gets into the same stuff we'd already been really doing. We even figured out an easy way for us to blend the chin offense that flows right into that high-low motion. So we really like that we got to keep a really big part of our base of our offense and have it flow into this new thing we're working with. So the only my only, not, I don't want to call it a complaint because it's not really the kids' fault, but we're playing, and we sent our kids to play in summer, and even like we went to the TABC showcase, and we had worked on it at the very end of the school year. Obviously TABC clinic is middle of May, so we had about 2 weeks of school left, and we're trying to put in just a couple parts of that. And then in our summer skill sessions, we would take a couple minutes, last 10-15 minutes of each hour, and we would try to put in a little bit more, just if we had the right guys there for that day. And we tried to run some of it at TABC showcase, and for only really working on it for a couple of 2 weeks and change, it looked good. And then the rest of summer, your guys are sporadic with, these 2 guys are out of town, this guy's on a select team that plays out of the city, et cetera, et cetera. So we didn't get to work on it much after the TABC showcase until we kind of got back to school. But then we get into fall league these last couple weeks, and I don't know, every fall league is different, but it's just so like, it's almost all just transition based. Like it's just, teams aren't as scouted, no one's scouting anything in fall league. Your guys are just, you're getting to play, you're getting a little bit of camaraderie with the team and see how things are working with those pieces that are there. So we haven't gotten to run it much outside of our athletic period since, but man, I'll tell you what, if you like Princeton offenses and spacing and back cuts and reads, and you have a good 4 or 5 position player, because you can run it through the 5 quite a bit if you just move some pieces around. But it's got a lot of good stuff that we really like. We think our personnel around it can also really help them shine too. And it's not just going to, everything's not going to be just through our 4 or 5 players, but, we really like what the guards can do with it too. We think it fits the personnel that we have. And we're actually, my top assistant and I are going next week to watch Coach Cook and St. Edward's practice.
Oh, nice.
I think it's next Thursday and Friday. So we have a weather day next Friday. So only having to take one personal day is nice. And knock on wood, there is no weather day between now and then, and we end up having to go to work that Friday because
that would stink to have to change your plan so quick, for sure. But I appreciate you sharing that about the thing that you borrowed, and I kind of made a little note of choosing an offense that works for your best players.
Yeah,
I think that's a great way for all of us to look at it, because like you probably have your favorite or what you would love to run.
Yeah.
And I have what I would love to run, but you got to ask yourself, am I trying to force a team to do something that doesn't really work for them?
Yeah.
And I think probably the fun of this is especially if you're a lifelong learner, is adding something new, blending. And you use the word blend. That's great. Like, just because you have a few players that are skilled and you want things to center around them in a different way, doesn't mean you got to throw everything out that you've been doing. What's out there? Who else is already doing something that you can learn and blend and use on your own? But I think answering it that way, or asking that question every spring, fall, is what we're doing the best for our best players. If it's not, you're going to have frustration from them, which I don't think nowadays you want frustration from your best players.
No.
But then also too, your team's not going to have the same success that they could. It has to fit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I've been guilty. Earlier we were talking about where are you in your career? I'm sure when I was the second, third, fourth year as a head coach, that I was probably hard-headed about this is what we're going to run. One of my assistant coaches who, in my 11 years as a head coach at, 2 different places, he has been with me on both staffs for 8 of those 11 years. And, we kind of reflected a while back about, I don't think I ran a zone defense probably until my 4th or 5th year as a head coach. I just stubborn. Dad was
a man guy.
My dad was a man-to-man defensive guy. So I'm a man-to-man defensive guy. Like,
that's right.
I didn't know any better, and I put our team in the best chance for success all the time? Maybe not. But I was hard-headed. I wanted every guy to know who they were going to block out on every shot. I wanted certain matchups all the time. And so, even on the offensive end, I wanted us to run and play fast. We didn't have the personnel to play fast in my second year as a head coach. So what did we do? Maybe a little too late, but we started. There was almost a few games where it was literally every time across half court, we called a set. It wasn't the kids' fault. It was probably ours as coaches for not, letting them play a little bit more freely and saying, look, these are your options. As long as you keep making good reads, we'll keep playing, free. But man, I've been guilty of, kind of pigeonholing my team of, we're going to play this way, even if it wasn't the best for that team. Maybe not even just for that team for that season. It could be a game to game, quarter to quarter situation too, where, we've been playing man and it's not working. Let's change to zone, and sometimes as coaches, we maybe overthink it. Like I said, I know I've been guilty of that, for sure. Another example, like kind of relating to that, a couple years ago, we were playing a really good, I think they were a top 10 or 15 ranked 3A team. We're at a 5A school, above average size 5A school. So on paper, it's easy to say, well, you're a 5A school, you should beat these guys. Well, this team had 2 studs, and we're sitting there going, again, I'm a man-to-man guy. I rarely played zone. We don't throw junk defense. We practiced a triangle and 2 for like 30 minutes tops the day before this game. And it ends up doing pretty good at the start. So we're like, okay, you know what? They haven't really solved it yet. Let's stick with it. So we stick with it into the second quarter. Okay, things are still going well. Like we have a 9-10 point lead or so. things are going well. We've kind of taken these other two guys out of the picture. They're starting to get a little frustrated, et cetera. We end up playing, I think, almost the entire game with that. And so, that's kind of like the opposite example of earlier where, hey, we as coaches sometimes need to go, you know what, this is working, stick with it, or it's not working, get out of it. Like, again, I'm just trying to give you an example of for me personally on both ends of that spectrum.
Those are great. I know for darn sure that I have been guilty of, this is just who we are, and I don't care what it looks like or what we have. And, you need to have really good friends in this profession that'll tell you the truth. And sometimes I think a useful thing, if you ever feel stuck or just wondering, is this really working? Am I too close to this? Is send your friends a game film and have them watch it.
Yeah.
But one thing is after a couple years at Faith, I really got wrapped up in how many threes we were making, how many threes we were attempting, how many possessions we were having, and to where that almost became the goal. And
that's where we are right now. We're on the 3-point thing is a huge deal for our team right now.
Which I'm still love it. And that is the ultimately the goal is to get the best shot as fast as possible every possession. So you got to define with shot selection what best is. After a few years of that, I went down the rabbit hole of fast. And then when you go down that rabbit hole, of course, early on you hit Loyola Marymount, and then you start to go a little deeper and go farther until you start to get into Grinnell and some of those areas where it's just a free for all.
That system is awesome.
What's next? What's next in speed? It's Grinnell. So we're averaging 94 points a game. We're about 7-2, 7-3 before football guys came out. Kind of changed the dynamic a little bit of that team, but we were, doing a lot, but not necessarily turning guys over a ton, especially live ball. And I had a coach come but I was all in it, man. Like I thought this is fast. No one plays this fast. Like we are cutting edge or whatever. And a buddy, I said, hey, what'd you think? And he says, I don't think your guys can do that. And it hurt so bad. I said, what do you mean? Like we just put up 92. Yeah. He's like, the other team scored 105. I was like, yeah, but it's not about that. And he's like, well, I just don't think you have the horses to do what you're doing. And it was really an important thing for me to hear. And so then over the years, it's tried to be, okay, how, like Joe Crispin, his book Offense Wins is one of my favorite books of all time. And he talked about his personal constraints. And his personal constraint is he will not coach slow basketball. I have the same personal constraint. I just can't do it. And so, yes, there needs to be a level of fast that we can get to, but how can I adjust that level of fast, especially on the defensive end? So is there a pressure zone? Is there something that makes us appear more athletic than we are? Or is this a team that we need to press with, but still staying within my personal constraints? Because as much as I appreciate the guys that can play one extreme to another, I'm just not that guy. Yeah. And like Rick Torben said, it takes you 10 or so years to figure out who you are. I just had to fail a little bit along the way.
Yeah. No, I think failure may be the best thing for not just obviously coaches, but players too. Like you need to see why this doesn't work or what you could have done differently and apply it to the next opportunity when it does come up. You may beat a team that you're supposed to beat and you feel good, but you didn't play well. So a lot of times I think the players don't realize that, like, well, coach, we won. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I mean, any coach is going to take an ugly win over a pretty loss any day, but I think you're going to learn more from those opportunities that, we didn't play well and we lost by 9. And here are the reasons why. You go back with a film session or, you have a team meeting on certain things, and maybe your culture dropped for a game. Maybe it dropped at practice 2 days before leading into that game. Things like that come up, and it's really important that you do learn from those failed opportunities and just use it as an opportunity to grow. That growth mindset that we as coaches need to keep sharp, and we hope that it translates down to our players too.
I think it's easy for us to say to our players for them to have a growth mindset, but then probably a more important evaluation is, do we have a growth mindset? Or like are you doing the same things in practice that you did 5 years ago? Has your skill work evolved at all, or are you
Mm-hmm.
still in the same mode? Now, not to say that you throw out everything that's good, but like you said with blend, with add, I just keep finding better and better ideas and ways to teach the skills that I really like. And sometimes it's out of the box. And I just, as long as I can see the game in it and be able to teach the game in it, then I'm down. But to go back to something you said about playing good and losing, playing bad and winning, I think we got to be careful with resulting too much with our players on either side of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think when they start to tell and or they can see that you act a lot different after a loss than you do after a win, regardless of really how we played, then I think the standards overall start to slip, where all of a sudden it's not about excellence and it's not about showing up the right way. It's just about winning. And it
Oh
doesn't
yeah,
matter what
yeah,
that looks like. And I
yeah.
think it does.
No, you're 100% right. And actually, I'm thinking about like the list of questions that you had sent and the topics that we might discuss. That last question, I didn't choose it, and it's probably the one that I wrestled with the most. Is what would you tell your younger self?
Oh,
And
yeah.
not
Go
just
ahead
my
and
younger
answer it. Let's
self.
hear it.
I will not just your younger self, but you know you and I we've been in it long enough to know what works, what doesn't, what we need to tweak, year in, year out. There's going to be change, things like that. For all the young coaches out there, whether you're an assistant coach, aspiring to be a head coach, whether you're a first, second year, head coach. And this is what I would tell myself, because I chased wins so much those first 2 years, especially. We were 5-26 my first year. So needless to say, whatever I was chasing wasn't very good. And so, uh, however, we made some changes. We had a full, spring and off season where myself and the staff that I had, we got to, put in the things we wanted to do. And what I would tell people is don't chase wins, chase your culture. What you want that culture to look like, what you want it to be, how you envision it. Chase that every day, and and don't ever assume you're going to have a finished product, because the kids are going to change year to year. Their backgrounds are going to change from year to year. Their home lives will change from year to year. You have your standards, but you have to make sure that those kids from all these different backgrounds, that you hold them to the same, accountability and standards as you would for anybody that's been in your locker room before. But you make sure that that culture is as strong as possible, and that it's never fully set in stone. Like, you have to be ready to adapt to a new situation year to year while still maintaining that high culture. So don't chase wins, chase your culture and what you want it to be like. Wins will come as a result of that. So from year 1 to 2, we go from 5-26 to 21-11, and we missed the final playoff spot on the last game of the year. While that's not the end result we wanted, there was progress, there was growth. The kids saw it. I think our parents and our school saw it. Obviously, as a coaching staff, we realized, like, hey, we did some things well. Did we coach a little bit better? Yeah, maybe. But that comes with experience, for all of us.
Yeah.
Was our team a little more experienced as well? We did. We returned a pretty good group of the guys from the year before that went 5-26. They were just a year older, a little more, developed, et cetera. But I feel like we started to implement the culture that we wanted, so we saw the results of that. And then from then on, we had success.
That was pretty impactful. And I'm glad that you did answer that question. It's one of my favorites to hear people go through. And I think you're right. I mean, early on, here's a humbling moment for me was my second year at Faith. We hit 432 threes, 423. And I thought, that's a lot. Like, that's at McKinney, we were at 280 and we thought that was a lot. And so with 423, I thought, okay, that's going to be some kind of record. Like, what's the record
that's
out
got to
there?
be up there. Yeah.
So I looked at NFHS, and sure enough, in 2 years, because of just the volume of shooting, the volume of threes and the possessions, we were about 9 or 10, either team or individual records. We were at least in the top 10. and we could submit. So coach, I printed out all the paperwork
Yeah.
and did all the stuff, sent it in, and I'm waiting. It's kind of like Michael Scott when he does his own ad instead of and I don't know if you're an Office fan, but so I'm sorry if you're not, but
No. Yeah.
they want to do the ad, but he's like, oh, we'll do our own, and he sends it, and he's waiting by the computer, and 5 weeks later, right? Like that's what
Yeah.
it says, or a week later.
Yeah.
So it was a month later. I finally get an email from them, and it says, because you're a private school, your records are not acknowledged by NFHS. It was such a kick in the nards. And
No.
I just remember thinking like, wow, I'm not that important. That was first thing. And then that stuff doesn't matter. But then, and also like, I realized it was all about me. My players didn't care about that. In fact, the year that we hit 423, we only won 14 games. Like we actually had a losing season. We didn't make playoffs, but by golly, we hit a lot of
But
threes.
we were,
and
yeah.
I was the only one who cared about that.
Yeah.
And that was a good, like you kind of talked about failure. That was good for me to go through, because like, what would if this was my last year? Well, we have a lot of fun, so I'll try to have more fun. I don't know what that looks like, but we'll try to have more. I would let less things hurt my feelings. And I don't know if I'm the only one who feels this way or not, but like I find myself anytime that a player doesn't it looks like they don't like what we're doing, because I think this is just the best thing we could be doing, or if they disagree, or if their attitude's not right, or if a parent says something, all of those things I let them, and I try not to show it, but I can let them get to me a little bit. And Ted Lasso's, I love the show. Every coach should watch
Great
it.
show. Yes.
I know it's not a real guy. Like I know that, but I've always was amazed at how he didn't let things bug him.
Mm-hmm.
Like players could straight up answer or act in a way that is opposite of the culture he's trying to create, and it was almost like, hey, that's okay. I respect the way that you. And I'm thinking, no. In fact, that moment when he's about to tear into Jamie Tart and his son comes in and stops him, I really wanted the son not to come in
Let
him go light him up. Hey, you know what? And just go after him, but I want to be more like that. I know it's a fictional character, but that's something I would try to do.
That's what I remember from those moments, because there's more than one. There's probably a handful of moments throughout the series where he does let something get to him, and it's like a really big emotional part of the series every time those moments come up. Just like you said, he's about to just unleash on Tart, and the kid walks in and it stops. And I think of it's towards the end of the series where he's trying to crack he's by himself. He's trying to crack the formation, and he's going through the book and stuff. And it's like this
total football.
He's having his like a mental breakdown doing it. And then like it clicks, and he's like, it's just this, like how nonchalant he turns into, but he's like, I love those moments from that show. You're right. Every coach needs to watch that show though.
Needs to watch, but also too, I do think allowing ourselves the ability to not have an opinion on everything, and to be okay with messy and everybody not instantly being on board, and other people having bad days, just because you and I may show up and be pretty much the same guy every day. Like we'll do our very, very best. That doesn't mean that everybody else has to, or that they will. And being, it's kind of like, it's just, I don't know, maybe it's security. Being that secure in who we are as coaches and the direction we're going, that you can just roll with it. And then you kind of nailed it too. Not worrying about wins. I think when you start worrying about wins or even legacy, when that starts to be part of, and that's what I was doing with those forms, is I want to be remembered. I want to have a legacy that, it's right here in NFHS.
Who was the coach of that team? Yeah.
And, but when you start worrying about that, it's almost like it consumes you so much that you end up not having the one that you wanted.
The JAMODI Podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans, create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products.
Could do
All right,
this all
so
day.
you said the culture word. You said it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna keep going with
The
that
magic
buzzword of
Yeah.
yeah. I try to say standards and pillars, but
Good.
culture is super important in your opinion. And you kind of said it. Like I love the way you said it. Of that's what you need to fight for every day, or that's
Mhm.
and I'm butchering what you said
Just
about culture.
chase your culture. Instead of chasing
Chase
wins,
your culture every day.
chase the culture every day instead of chasing
How
wins.
does that
And
drive the performance of your team and program?
yeah, so you know, I'd sent these questions to our staff and asked like, hey, what five do you think I should pick? Trying to get
Nice.
some input. And I mean, two of the three instantly were like, you've got to pick, like the culture one. Like you're a big culture guy. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I am. Like it's easy to. Some guys are offensive guys, some guys are defensive guys, and some guys are just culture guys. Like I've said, I'm probably on a good day, I'm the second best basketball coach on our staff. My assistant coach is a better teacher of basketball probably than I am. I'm not afraid to say that. But what I think I do really well is I sell whatever I believe our culture is, and I'm gonna use I think it was Danny Henderson. I heard him say, see the picture, paint the picture, sell the picture. So for me, it's envision what your culture's like, paint it and let others see what it looks like. And then you've got to sell that culture to every person in your program, players, parents, your admin, fellow teachers on campus, your gym custodian, whoever. They need to know what you're about. And so we want our culture to be something that our kids, not only do they see it, I want our kids to own it. Like we've all heard the expression, a player-led team is going to be better than a coach-led team. Well, that is true probably 99% of the time, unless the coach-led team has just that much more talent than everyone else. So, but I want our players to own the culture, because then as a collective group, they can own what happens on the court. We as a staff can help them own it. And now our culture word, our program word, if I give it one word, we break it out every break, timeout. It's above our wall, above the doorway, leaving our locker room. It's getting put inside the door above our coach's office in like a couple weeks. We're doing some locker room renovating, which it's a big part of what we're trying to do. But our word is together. That's it. We break it out every word, together on three, 1, 2, 3, together. That's every timeout, every middle of practice break, whatever. So I want everything we do to go through that process, like, the grind of a season that you and I were talking about at the very beginning here, of end of the season in spring, you're evaluating what's coming up, your summer workouts, your preseason stuff. It's that whole process. You don't become that team until you've gone through everything it takes to become one. And I want us to do that together. And so everything we do, when there's a goal not met in practice, if it's a shooting drill and we don't reach the goal, every player on the team, whether they were an active participant of that drill, whether they were the leading shooter in that drill, whether they were the last guy in the drill, whatever, every guy is going to do a conditioning exercise or whatever the case may be. Right. And so I just, and what I feel like has happened with our teams over the years is they've started to own that culture more and more, to where we've become more player led these last couple of years than we were before. And I think this coming year, I really believe this. It's not the most talented team I've coached, but I think it will be the most player led. And I'm really excited for that part, maybe more than anything else. Yes, our 4 and 5 are really good players that have some small college opportunities right now. And hopefully that leads to maybe something else for them. But at the end of the day, I want those guys to also be our most vocal people. Our 2 main ball handlers, probably the 2 most vocal guys that we've had at that position. We've had maybe more skilled point guards and primary ball handlers in the past, but they weren't as vocal. And so, as well as any, your point guard's got to be somewhat of a vocal leader. It's really hard to have a quiet point guard, in my opinion.
Especially because he's got the microphone, and the
Yep.
microphone's the ball.
Yep.
So if you're not going to use that microphone, then you almost have to give it to somebody else.
For sure. And so we want our kids to own it. And I think by just instilling, that word together over and over and over and over, and they see it on the wall in the locker room every single day when they come into the athletic period, when they leave the athletic period, if we bring them into our coach's office, when they leave our coach's office, we, every timeout in a game, every pregame huddle, every postgame in the locker room, whether we win or lose, the last thing we all say is together. And that has helped us so much. I swore up and down that my dad, that's all we ever said. Well, it turns out it was like, maybe it was my sophomore or junior year. That was the only time he said he really used it. But for whatever reason, in my mind, it was like, that's all we ever said. It's the only one that stuck with me.
Yeah.
And so, it's worked out well for us. And I think by having our, culture be all about the team and being together, it's allowed us to maintain success when sometimes our best players probably could have maybe averaged more points had they been somewhere else. But because they were in our system and our program's culture, they were able to have just as much team success. And a lot of times you're all district players, you're all region players. They're on good teams. Like, other kids get the numbers, but they're not going to be an all region player because their team wasn't as successful, or an all state player because their team wasn't as successful. Like, I want the guy that's going to win, and that's why I'm really excited about this year's group. We can win some games for sure, but I know it's probably going to be the best player led team that we've had these last handful of years.
I love what you said early on about how, the player led teams are the best teams or winning teams, unless, because you're right, their Jimmys and Joes are just superior.
Yep.
They have a good shot. And it made me think of Tom Inman. And anybody that knows Coach Inman, I mean, legendary coach up in Dallas-Fort Worth, won a state championship at Plano in the mid-thousands, however you say that. And after he had done that, me and him were down at the state tournament. And I was a young coach, and he had just won it the last couple of years. I said, Coach, man, state championship, how'd you do that? I've never done it as a player, never done it as a coach. And he said, Matt, we're all jockeys. The best horses win. And that's stuck with me.
That's a perfect
because
analogy.
It's true in a sense that if you have the best horse, it's pretty hard to screw him up. I mean, but you can. And an average jockey can win with the best horse. And then a great jockey can take an average horse and make him competitive.
Yeah.
What's special? It's probably what Danny Henderson had at Marcus, where they had the best horses, and he is the best jockey.
I was just like, you get both, and it usually is going to lead to that result more times than not.
But you see it every year. There's great teams that make it, and it's hard to coach talent. I'm not discounting that at all. I mean, what Nick Smith does at Kimball, I've been to that gym. The discipline there, man, the excellence. Those dudes walk in and like, this is where winners go. When I was at the gym, I just remember thinking like, oh man, we might be having too much fun at Faith, because this feels like this is what excellence and winning feels like. But it's just our definition of it. But
for sure,
I love that idea. Players owning it. I like the way that you're talking about, Eric. You're beating them over the head with this relentless idea of together.
Mm-hmm.
You said that this is the most. You've been there 7 years.
Yeah.
At what point did you start to feel, and this may help me, at what point did you start to feel it becoming, okay, these are my guys, they're understanding our culture of togetherness, and they're really becoming player-led? Do you remember the kind of that click moment of time?
So my first year there was the year COVID hit. So 1920 was my first year at Flower Bluff. I'd
a lot
come
of challenges.
I'd come from an in-town, school. We were coming off of a district championship the year before. We had pretty much not all, but we had 3 of the top 4 players on that team were coming back to be seniors. Or sorry, 2 were coming back to be seniors. 1 was, and the best shooter was coming back to be a junior. And those two seniors that were returning were dogs. I mean, undersized guards / wings, one, the other one, but absolute dogs. Like those guys were winners. The opportunity to leave and go to a Flower Bluff school because it's been successful for all of their programs. And you know, just kind of the vision that I had of it's a single school ISD. I don't know how many single school ISDs you've ever been with. It's really hard to compare, and I don't think it's fair to compare multi-school ISDs and situations that are there with a single school ISD and the pros and cons of both. I don't know that you can honestly fairly compare the two. But you know, long story short, so 1920 was my first year, and they had a pretty large returning group coming back. I had to follow a legend in his own mind, Jamie Boswell, who I think every basketball coach in the state of Texas knows. And Coach Boswell has done so much for
He's awesome.
Basketball coaches, for public education, for state of Texas athletic programs across the board. I owe him a lot.
Yeah.
But I also got to try to keep him grounded, which is near impossible. The team that he had returning when he left to get into his athletic admin, first opportunity was a very experienced team. There was a really good mix of seniors and juniors who were contributors as sophomores. So there was a pretty good returning group, and it's hard. Like your first year anywhere is going to be hard because it's different. It's not what those guys, were used to. And so COVID had its own challenges. Obviously it was right after basketball season had ended, or right as basketball season was ending. So we had made the playoffs. We had finished, I think we were tied for second in district. We had made the postseason. We lost a, nail biter of an opening round playoff game, so there was some on-court success, but we culture-wise, nowhere near, bought in enough. And I don't blame the players for that because, like I said, it's really difficult to have a brand new coach, a brand new assistant coach as well. And so, we had to, and the other assistant coach, who is my main assistant coach now, it was only his first year, the year before I got there. So he hadn't even been there that long either.
Yeah.
So we, a lot of new coaching staff members with a really experienced returning group used to what they're used to. And you come in to try to, implement your side of things, whether it's offensive, defensive, culture. So there was certainly a learning curve there, but that off season, the COVID off season, which obviously school shut down, we're virtual forever. We started to see it then because even though, virtual school, which disaster to say the least, I don't know if anybody actually enjoyed that.
It's still hard to believe that we did that.
That we did that.
That we actually tried that. Yeah.
For sure. But we had our basketball guys, when it was the athletic periods time of day for virtual school, they were there. And not just there, cameras were on. We have to remind the occasional kid, but we just sat and we just talked about hey, if we get the opportunity in the summer, what are we going to do? Looking ahead. And then our school district, thankfully, came up with some COVID protocols to allow us to have summer workouts. Our school made a makeshift outdoor weight room underneath the bleachers of the football stadium. Yeah. I mean, we all know what Texas summers are like. It ain't cold, and it ain't going to be any colder underneath the bleachers. You just get a little bit of shade. So, but that summer, that returning group, and I mentioned there was some juniors that had played quite a bit as sophomores. Those guys being up there and becoming, they were leading things. And I go back to our virtual conversations, talking about what were our goals for the next year. And, a lot of the vocal leaders, we want to win a district championship. Okay, how are we going to do that? If we get the opportunity in the summer, what are we going to do to help, achieve that goal? Because everybody's goal at the beginning of the year is, we want to win. We want to do this. We want to do that. But what are you going to do? They envision their picture of winning a district championship, but now we've got to sell that picture to every member of our program. What are we going to do? And those guys showed up. They busted their butts. I think the workout times we had were 4 in the afternoon or something. 4 in the afternoon in Texas summer, outdoor weight room. You're under the bleachers doing squats, throwing
It's
up
an
bench.
IV of water, or just IV going
Yeah.
while they're lifting.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, just I mean, again, like you said, it's so crazy to think that we actually did that. So
Yeah.
fast forward to February of 2021 now. So the whole 2021 season, players, you got to have your mask on in the locker room and all kinds of stuff that happens and protocols in place. We win a district championship. And so but we talked about it. I still remember talking to those guys about it, and the locker room celebration was a blast. We talked about those virtual conversations, the working out under the bleachers of the visitor side of the football stadium. And those were the things we had talked about after winning a district championship. And so that was kind of a moment there. And we've really, because of that group, we've continued forward and continued to have the on-court success because of the things that those guys bought into and helped implement for the future Flower Bluff Hornet basketball teams.
My buddy Matt Garnett talks about the beautiful struggle. And when you look at struggle as something amazing, well, then you it really helps you shape or frame how you talk about anything that happens with your program. If it's a beautiful struggle, then lifting under the bleachers and doing all those virtual things, that's just a part of our story. I want to ask you a random question. Is fall league necessary?
I, like a lot of things, it probably depends on the team you have.
Yeah.
Because we returned a good number of players from last year's, and because they played, let me think, we did spring league. We did 2 tournaments at the end of May and maybe very beginning of June. And then we went to the TABC showcase, middle, second half of June. And if I found the right weekend opportunities, I would say fall league is not necessary. But I think it depends on the team. This group right now, we did a lot in the spring and the early part of summer. They had good summer workouts where we had consistent, attendance by several varsity returning players and the prospective next varsity group. Could we do without our fall league this year, where this is our last week coming up? I would say yes with this group. Last year's team, I would have said, oh, we needed it. We needed it bad because we were the opposite. We graduated so many seniors the year before. We had one starter returning, and we had the district's 6th man of the year, who's our current 5. He was coming back, but his role was going to be, now as a starter, and everyone else was a very small contributor or just wasn't on varsity. So last year we definitely needed it, in my opinion. So I would say it kind of depends on your team.
It's a good answer. No, I think that's a good
what
answer.
you did leading up to fall league too. I'm not one of those guys that I've heard it. I think the way it was worded was, if we play, let's say 33 games in a season, I want our guys to try to play 30 games between off season, summer and fall. And I'm like, man, that's it's a whole nother season. Obviously, your weekend tournament, you're playing 2 games here, 2 games there. Well, there's 4 right there, right? Like, can it be done? Sure. But I don't know that I would want that. I don't know why my parents would want me to want that. My players' parents, like, they're the ones that are doing the traveling and paying entry fees and all that kind of stuff.
It's withdrawing from their accounts for sure, not just financially, but also time. And we just got off of, especially in the spring, withdrawing from them a ton, or in the fall, we're just about to withdraw from them a ton. Up before COVID, we did every spring league, summer league, fall league that we could, played in tournaments, all that stuff, because I thought it's what you do. Yeah. It's what serious programs do, and serious coaches have their players do that. And then COVID hit, and we didn't do any of that. In fact, we didn't even have, we started school 6 weeks in, we didn't even have workouts. And that team maybe could have benefited. Obviously, everybody can benefit from the skill work, but that team was great. We made a Final Four run. It wouldn't have I don't know what it would have done for us, but it just kind of made this mind shift of I need to stop doing things that just everybody's always done because everybody's always done it and
Mhm.
figure out, is this really the best for my team? And
Mhm.
so that's where I told you, I think it's a good answer.
Yeah.
Is it good for your team or not? But the idea that we need to do it or we're missing out,
Oh,
I think we got
yeah.
to look again
Mhm.
at where development really comes from.
Mhm.
Development doesn't come from the game. If that's the case, then only your best players are really getting better because they touch it the most, they shoot it the most. So development comes from how we train. And then I've tried to take the approach of I want to withdraw from them less when I don't need to and
Yeah.
deposit more time back to them so that when I have to
When you
withdraw
do
in the
need it. Yeah.
season, I can
Yeah.
do it in a big
For
way.
sure. For sure.
But now
Yeah.
I'm down here
Little
in
checks and
Waco
balances.
where they don't have all of this. Like in Dallas Fort Worth, it's just easy because there's a shootout every
Everyone's got it.
weekend.
Yeah.
We do this. There's not a lot down here.
Yep.
So I'm starting to think, okay, do I need to host a spring league? They can play at our gym. We can get more games in. Not everybody does select ball like they do up
Mhm.
there, where it's just
Mhm.
like I didn't. That's one thing too. Is I was like, I'm having guys come do this when they might be missing a practice that they're invested in, or they have a practice or a game the next night or a tournament. Like it was just overkill. But now I'm wondering, maybe I need to do that again.
Yeah. No, it does depend on your circumstances for sure. In DFW, like you said, there is something every weekend, year round, even during basketball season. There's
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
weekend opportunities to play.
no doubt.
Uh, so here in Corpus Christi, we don't have that the basketball mecca of DFW or any other major metroplex
Yeah,
area. So for us, it's probably going to a San Antonio, Gasso event, going to a Houston Gasso event or an Alamo City Hoops event, in San Antonio. There's actually one this weekend in Victoria. Ironically, we're going to it. I also think it's what's the quality like that you're getting out of it too. Like is it
yeah.
something where hey we're only going to play 2 games, but it's against team A and team B, and those are quality programs that like I think that's got to matter too. Like is it worth the while? I'm fortunate right now where we have a couple of the dads of some of our players that these guys are these guys are basketball junkies. I mean they love it.
That's helpful. Yeah,
One of
'cause
them
that's a
actually
whole other part of it too.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. One of them actually played for my dad, which is kind of funny. And now I'm coaching his son. So
Nice.
that's a pretty cool thing.
Full circle. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But they're into it. And I've always, told them like, hey, if you can't do it, it's not a big deal. Our program will be okay. We'll be fine. But these guys have really helped. And that's another thing that earlier we talked about. What would you tell your younger self or to a young coach? Like, don't be afraid to ask for help. I was terrified of asking parents for help early on,
Yeah.
whether it's,
Yeah.
hey, I need help, talking with your kid, or I need help with someone to volunteer to just be on the bench for our spring or our fall league. The kids can coach themselves. We just have to have an
Yeah.
adult there. Don't be afraid to ask. You'd be surprised. Parents are I think, more willing to help than we tend to believe sometimes. Obviously, you have to have, some involved. The word involved parents probably gets a negative
We
tone
gotta have
sometimes.
boundaries. You gotta
Yes,
have
for
boundaries.
sure.
They gotta understand they're not on staff and they don't
Correct.
have ability to impact decisions
Yep.
that we're making. And
Correct.
I think
Yeah.
that's the fear, right? Is that the moment that, especially if coaches look at parents as enemies, which I used to,
Mm-hmm.
then you can't let them in. Like,
Yep.
don't let them in our castle. Keep
Yep.
them out.
Yep.
But I think if you look at them as allies, then yeah, you need to be
Yep.
able to ask for help, let them in an appropriate amount,
Yep.
but just always having good boundaries. And but I think I still struggle with that. Coming from a private school where they paid to go there, I never wanted them to have to do more than that.
Then just
And
that. Yeah.
now, coming to Midway, I need to make sure that I'm not closed off to asking for help and letting
Mm-hmm.
people. I think people want to be a part of something special.
For sure.
And if that's really what we're trying to build, then why not let them be a part of that?
Yeah, we talk. So at our parent meeting at the beginning of every year, which I strategically host the first scrimmage on that first Saturday. Like I want to host it because as soon as that scrimmage is done, 15 minutes later, our parent meeting is scheduled. And so,
Oh, wow.
we already have, most of them are already going to be there. And
Yeah.
we just tell our freshmen and JV teams and parents like, hey, the varsity scrimmage starts at, I think this year it's at 10 a.m. We've got 3 other teams. I think we were planning to do right now, like, I think it was 2 15-minute halves versus each one. And the last one, if 2 coaches agree, you could just do 1 half if you wanted, something like that. So we should be done shortly after 12 o'clock. If we map it out correctly. Parent meeting scheduled for 12:30. So we're going to do it right then and there. Everyone's there. Not everybody smells the best because we're a little sweaty in the jerseys, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But our culture word together, like that's what I start with at our parent meeting. And I tell them, you are part of it. You are part of this togetherness and this journey we're about to go on for the next 4+ months. And if we're really fortunate into a 5th month, like y'all are as much of a part of it as every player, every student assistant, every coach, coaches, families, etc. Like everyone needs to be bought in on that togetherness. And just kind of goes back to the point from before about you've got to sell that culture and drive it home and let people know like you are helping paint this picture because you're a part of it.
What value do you see in doing your parent meeting after the season has already started?
Well, one, teams are relatively solidified at that point.
Yeah.
I've done it where we did it before tryouts before, and tryouts are, for me, if you're in the basketball athletic period, you're trying out every day for the first 2.5 months of school. Like that kids, coach wins tryouts. It's been going on for, what are we on, week 9 of the school year for week 8?
Yes,
8 or 9 for us.
Tryout day 36. We just finished it.
Yeah, we just did it. Yeah. Tryouts are for anybody that's not in the athletic period. Your football guys, or in our case, and forgive me for not knowing how midway football is year in and year out. At Flower Bluff, our football team is going to play into Thanksgiving break almost every year. And that's probably on the bottom end of where they're reached. Like realistically, they're playing after Thanksgiving break more years than not.
We rely on a lot of those guys
year to year.
Yeah.
Last year, we had some guys that we had envisioned being contributors. One of them, unfortunately, had a knee injury on the last playoff game, which was the regional championship. And yeah, that stung. And, unfortunately, it was a basketball season-ending injury. But we hope to have him back. He was a junior, so he looks good in football right now. So we just need to stay strong, and he'll be a good contributor for us this upcoming year. But kind of year in, year out, earlier I mentioned like Flower Bluff's probably an above average size 5A school. We're probably 1920, I'm guessing, is our enrollment. So we're not a small 5A by any chance, but we're not the, 2,200 right under the 6A cutoff either. But we don't have a ton. I'm trying to think just off the top of my head of guys that we project. I mentioned that the two for sure, three will probably be on, and there's a 4th that was on last year, and it's going to kind of be up to him whether he decides to play or just pursue.
That's not a big deal. It's much more about like the timing of your meeting and
I got
how impact and how football impacts it.
Yeah.
And I'm always curious too, because I think we love multiple sport players, but there is always something, especially with the flow and continuity of offense, that just looks better early on when you've got all your guys from the fall.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that makes total sense. The other thing with the parent meeting right after the scrimmage, I mean, selfishly, I'm already there. Like, I'm not scheduling something that's, a week before the season even starts and go, it's another day where I'm staying till 5:45 today or whatever the case may be. Like it's just kind of, we're already there. It's a weekend. Hopefully, however many 9 to 5 parents, parent jobs are out there. Like, are we going to get everybody there? No. But I think our attendance has been, pretty consistent as a result of having it then. And like I said, I mean, people show up to watch the scrimmage anyway. So
Yeah, no, I love the idea. I'm always that's kind of something that in this new role, I'm just kind of watching to see what others do.
hmm
At Faith, and this was another COVID thing. That year we did a Zoom parent meeting and I loved it because
shoot,
not
no, that's
only now
interesting. I've never done that.
at a private school, they lived from far away. So it didn't make sense, like and not far away, like, but it could be 15 minutes that
Right,
way or
right,
20 minutes that way. So
right.
what's the point? Like, we're not a town, we don't live around this place, but we did it that year. I got to record it. And so people that missed, I could say, here's the video, just watch
Yeah,
it
yeah,
yourself.
watch it. Yeah.
And after that year, I just said, hey guys, this is the new normal. And so at the last 5 years, I've only done Zoom. Well, I felt like at Midway being new and it being, a one school district where like everybody lives around here, let's meet in person. But the timing of it, I haven't done it yet. I have it scheduled for obviously not yesterday, next Monday. It's a holiday, which I at first, when I scheduled it for that, I didn't realize the 4 day, but I also thought, well, it's at least it's the night before school, it gets back up. So we
Yeah.
might be in town. But then I saw Holman down up at Birdville does it the Monday before the Wednesday the season
Let's
starts.
practice.
So like,
Yeah.
and then you're,
That's when I
you're
used to
doing
do
it
it.
after. So I'm just
Yeah.
trying to figure out the best time.
Shoot, I wrote down Zoom and record on my own note sheet. We may be tweaking that parent meeting.
I got almost 100% participation when it was from their home and a Zoom. It was awesome.
I think that may be something we look at, especially because we do still have 23 weeks and change before we start up. Yeah.
I did a Zoom, an initial parent meeting to kind of set up the fall because it was also new and nobody really knew me or what we were going to do, like what our days were going to look like. I did that. And again, I got a lot of people on it, didn't know who they were, but a lot of people were on it and then got to record it and share it. And I do see a lot of value in that. There are some things from that time, like maybe reevaluating fall leagues and things from that time that we don't have to just erase, that we can learn from for sure. Enough COVID talk. I got one more question for you before we go to the speed round. I'd like to know a little bit about your philosophy on scouting reports and in-game adjustments, and especially because we did get into a little bit of talking about stubbornness as a coach and just sticking with one way no matter who your players are. Well, I find also being stubborn sometime in games and not making the adjustments that I should, or making an adjustment when I should have just stuck to it. Like I'm way more Jason Garrett, as if anybody remember the football coach, he's like 3 phases, no matter what. Like I'm more that guy.
Yeah.
How do you decide on those things?
Yeah. First, the scouting reports. We are very much, it's more about player tendencies, player strengths, and again, probably because we're more man-to-man defense than anything else.
Sure.
But player tendencies is huge for scouting on our end. And some of my closest coaching friends make fun of me for the amount of like film requests that I send out. This is not a joke. I will literally just go to Max Preps, look at a team schedule, and I send every request. Am I going to watch every game? Absolutely not. But I want to know that I got it. Right? Like it's almost a game.
That peace of mind. The peace
Yeah.
of mind. Yeah.
It's almost like a game. Like
would you rather watch
paste.
the film or go? Would you rather watch the film or go watch them live?
District game, playoff game. I want to see that team live if I could. Non-district game, maybe who you're playing in a tournament, your first game, or if they're in your pool, your 2 or 3 pool team games. Film's fine. We can, and preferably, especially if you get it from like somebody I can say, hey, Matt, how tall is your number 50? Well, he's about 6'5". Okay, that means that their number 32 standard, he's about 6'3.5". Okay, like I don't have to see that in person, right? Like I can just guess, have an idea. But scouting wise, it's very much player tendencies. Like I want to know that this team's best player hates going to his left. But if you let him go right, he's going to drop 18 plus pretty easily. I want to know that he doesn't like to shoot off 2 feet when he drives. He's a charge candidate. You know, we're going to sell the heck out of guys. We need to take at least 2 charges on this guy. Whether they get called block or charge is irrelevant. I want him to know when he's driving the lane, I want him to think about, man, they've already tried this once or twice. If I drive again, they may do it again.
Yeah.
We point blank tell, I'm sure, obviously, I've heard of red light, green light, yellow light shooters. Like, you tell the guys, you're a green light shooter. You shoot it when you're open every time. You know, you're a red light shooter. It better be 0.1 on the clock and the ball's in your hands. Then you can shoot the ball, right?
There's literally nothing else you can do right now.
There is nothing else on yeah, that's exactly right. There's no scenario where this is not the only thing you can do, or where it is the only thing you can do.
Yeah.
But we tell our guys, you're a shot blocker, you're a charge taker. That's it. I don't want to see a charge taker jump like to try to block a shot if he's in front of the defender. I mean, of the offensive player. Like, don't jump, don't get vertical, just take a charge. 2 years ago, we've done this the last handful of years. We put up a charge wall. I think it's 8 feet by 6 feet or something, and we plastered it on the wall in the locker room. And I stole the idea. Buzz Williams, maybe somebody had it where they watched the film.
He's awesome.
Yes, and I mean, that may be the Superman of basketball culture. Like, that's all he's about. I don't know if he actually coaches basketball.
I love to really watch his day, because I was at TBC early bird breakfast years ago.
Yep.
When he shared his calendar. Yep. And I remember looking at this like, no way. Come on.
Yeah.
And
I'd
love to see it. I love to see it.
Were you, was that the one where he did are you left brain, right brain? You close do you remember he did some
I don't remember.
exercise where he was asking these questions like, okay, now cover this eye and pretend like you're drawing a bow and arrow, and he's like, I need my point guard to be right brain dominant. If he's not right brain dominant, I don't want him as my point guard. Like, he went through this whole thing about it. Anyway, so I think it was Buzz, and
charge wall.
They would print out the moment of contact. They still frame the photo or still frame the video and pause it and print out that moment where contact was hit and the charge is starting to be drawn, as like, look, this guy just made that choice to sacrifice his body right here for the betterment of our team. And they print out the picture. They let the player sign the photo, however you want. And we stick it on the wall. Our best years, we've had over 1 charge. There's almost 2 charges a game. I think we had 60. Wow. It's like right around 60 for the season.
Yeah. It's a full wall.
Oh yeah. Oh, it was. It went off the wall too. Unfortunately, last year we weren't. I do. I can certainly send it to you. And
I'd like to see that.
Our best years, that is full and it's wrapping around to the other side, and we kind of start taping them on the equipment cage inside the locker room, and that part gets a little makeshift. But hey, we're not going to not put it somewhere. Like, the kid deserves to have it up there. And last year, unfortunately, I think we had like 14 for the entire season. And we went through a really long stretch. I think we took one the first game of the year. We didn't take another charge, and they have to be called. Like, if it's called a block, whether it was legit or not, like, sorry guys, it's got to be called a charge.
Life's not fair. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't take another one until like game, I think it was 11 or 12. And it wasn't the reason we won or lost.
Even though you had the charge wall, it wasn't producing the same.
Yeah. So
I'm kind of torn myself on Mark Cassio in one of his breakdown videos about his no middle defense where the goalie comes out. I've always thought in my mind that goalie needs to be hunting charges. Like, he is looking for those moments of conflict. And he made a comment that he actually doesn't want his guys. He wants them to body up, but he doesn't want them hunting charges. Something about how it makes them more stationary because they're just trying to get their feet set.
Yeah.
They can't react and move.
No reaction time.
And how many times does it really get called? And then that made me think of Chris Oliver saying that, like, don't
teach to dive on the floor. Don't do loose ball drills because it really doesn't happen that much. And, it just you can go down those rabbit holes of
Yeah.
the things that in my mind are tough. Charge wall is tough. And if you care about your team, you're going to take charges. Diving on the floor is tough. But then these guys that I respect and I think are really smart are kind of pushing back on some of those ideas, and it just messes with my mind. So
It's kind of true. Like thinking about it, and at practice, during the athletic period, actually just this week, we finished with a transition drill, and it was a 4-on-3, with the chaser coming back, like a defensive trailer essentially coming back to make it a 4-on-4. Well, like, you got to capitalize when you have an odd man advantage. But we closed up the athletic period with bringing everybody together and talking, and I said, look, transition basketball doesn't always have to be, it's not a live ball turnover. Sometimes it's a made basket, but there's no stoppage of play. So we're trying to tell our kids, like, transition doesn't mean live ball turnover. It means anytime you're going from defense to offense or offense to defense without a whistle or stoppage in play. And that happens. Someone had the numbers on it. I know at the college level, it was like high 60s, maybe low 70% of the game is played without a stoppage, which I would think in high school is probably a little bit lower. Just, I'm thinking more jump ball calls, more travels, more, sloppy passes that go out of bounds, whatever. Yeah. So that number's probably in the low 60% maybe. So over half the game is played without a stoppage of play. So we have to be really good at the stuff that happens all the time. We need to be really good at transitioning from offense to defense and defense to offense. And
so look at your practice plan and how much time are we spending on the things that rarely happen, that don't actually lead to winning. And I think that's where
I'm thinking
they're
about
getting
the loose ball thing that you said. I'm going, I'm on the sideline. What, dive on the ball, get on the, but then I go, we never practice it.
That's right. That's right.
We don't do the two guys on the baseline where the key line meets and you just roll the ball out and do whatever you got to do to get the ball. Whoever ends up with the ball is the winner, and they just start, it becomes an onside kick in football at that point. Like that's what it doesn't turn into anything basketball related. And so we don't practice that. We have practice taking charges like that we will teach our kids, like start, chest to chest across from a teammate, bend your knees, protect yourself, teach them how to fall correctly. Like don't lock your wrists and elbows locked. Like don't do that. Take the brunt of the fall with your butt. Like, we teach that. And so I think that's
like a tower.
Oh yes. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, shoot, I was a charge taker in high school. I mean, I was a 6'2" guard, but I was a charge taker. Like that was kind of what I did. I was a decent on-ball defender. I was an excellent off-ball defender. Like, don't put me on the other team's best athlete. That's not going to end well for us. But I know where he's going to go, and I'm going to get a foul.
I'm going to bother him.
Yeah. That's right. So maybe that's why we want, like, I want my team to take charges because I did it all the time. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I've seen some of our guys, like some of our tougher kids, they'll try it at open gym. Like they'll be there and someone slides over and take a charge, and I'm going, hey, great job. And then at the same time, I'm like, that's also like our 2-year starting four. Like he probably doesn't need to be. Yeah, he doesn't need to be getting undercut. Going up. Like let's not do that.
It's so interesting to if you really dive into the why behind what you do and just try to figure out what makes sense, what lines up, and like you nailed it. What am I actually requiring them to do in games, and what am I not? And if we're not working on it, then I'm not going to yell at them at a game for get on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like why, coach? Yeah. We don't do that. And then it's I don't know. The more you hear from some of these coaches, they're like, come January, it's all 5-on. We don't compete. We don't go bone on bone.
Yeah.
And all of this is like we're talking about. Not necessarily working on charges or not forcing them to dive on loose balls in practice. What do we want more than anything else? Healthy players.
Yeah.
So all of the tough stuff, does it really lead to winning and healthy players?
Right. Are your guys worn out by the end of the year? I think that's probably something I know I talked about it with our staff. I am really bad about, as the year goes on, like practices, you start the year, it's 2 hours and change, 2 hours, 10 minutes, whatever. And then, you kind of get to district play after your tournaments are done or whatever you have. And now it's, hour 30, like we're starting to go hour 30, whatever. I've been really bad about that, where we're still going almost 2 consistently through the end. And I've seen it on players' faces that they were tired of basketball. Like, we lost our first round playoff game 2 full seasons ago. And this 3-year starting point guard, it looked like he had a sense of relief. Like he was just done. Like, I'm done with high school basketball. I've been a 3-year starter, been an all district player, junior and senior year, played summer ball every year, like did everything we asked of him, was our leading charge taker, had the ball in his hands. We didn't have a true backup point guard his senior year, especially. Like, his junior year, we didn't have a true backup point guard. Like, this guy must have logged thousands of minutes over the 3 seasons he played. And by the time he was done, he was done, and I'm so looking back, that example, last year, I thought we were a little better later in the season about, okay, Tuesday game, Wednesday, we're going to do recovery. We're going to lift light weights in the athletic period. And after school, we're going to do ice baths. And then Thursday, it's team practice for Fridays, Friday. So I felt like last year was a step in the right direction. And I love, every coach is different. I know the players love the games. I love practice. Like, I love seeing, hey, these are the things we're working on. And I know that's one of our questions here. This is what we're working on. I love seeing it and working on it and tying into our scout report, question. I feel like we do such a good job, not me, my assistant coaches especially, but I contribute a little bit. Our scout report, our going into a game scout report, I would put it up against anybody as far as player tendencies. If a team has a really common action, we played a team 3 seasons ago in the playoffs, second round, and their like transition offense was really good. And the action they ran, the initial action they ran, and their one key counter, we actually scouted, like we practiced against it because they ran it so well and they ran it so often. So I wanted, okay, that was an outlier. Otherwise, it's, hey, number 12 for this team, best outside shooter. If we have, Max Preps has stats or something, we'll put the percentages and how many made threes they have up to that point in the year, stuff like that. But our going into a game, I feel as good as any about a scout report. The in-game adjustments and I've told my own staff, guys, that's where you guys have to help me out as a head coach the most, because I am stubborn. I don't want to play this team zone because I feel like we can play them man and maybe it's not working. Or at times these last couple of years, we've pressed a little bit more, but for the most part, it's been a half court. We're going to be tough as nails in the half court because you got to score that way. So why are we trying to defend all the way up here? Like, there's so many different ways to play the game.
Yeah.
But there's times where we need to create maybe an extra possession or 2 or 3, and we should have pressed, So I tell our assistants, like, me as a head coach, my in-game adjustments, that's probably an area I still have to get better at. But going into a game, scout report, detail the player, this is what these players do. I mean, we'll go 9-10 deep, like kind of a joke, but last year, year before, we're playing a district opponent, and it's a team that on paper we should beat and handle. And they get hot to start the first quarter. And there was a kid who made a 3. And I just remember turning around and looking at my assistant coach, like, who the heck was that guy? And I do a quick turnaround, and he just looks at me, goes, and he grabs he's got his scout report paper, and he just goes like, why do I even watch film? This kid's not out there. Like, coach, we have 17 games. Never saw this. And we're just laughing like, you got to be kidding me, but it's because they played so well to start the game. We didn't play our best. We eventually win the game pretty handily, but it's just kind of a funny thing. Like, coach, I got nothing. Like, it just, so.
Coach, before I get you out of here, because we've been going almost an hour and a half.
Okay.
This is a speed
Time
round.
flies.
First, no doubt. First thing that pops in your head, just blurt it out. Ready?
Got it.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Cookie dough.
Cookie dough. Now, ice cream fan or other sweets?
Ice cream fan, yeah.
Okay. You paused. Greatest shooter of all time?
Ooh, Curry.
Oh, do you stand up or sit down more in games?
I rarely sit. I don't even know why they have a chair for me.
Don't. Guys, you can sit there, not using it.
Yeah.
Top 3 dinner guests, any time period, doesn't have to be the sports.
Wow. I'm going to pick a sports one, Michael Jordan. And I don't even know that I'd want to talk basketball. I think I'd want to talk like mindset.
Yeah.
Martin Luther King Jr. I would want a history degree. I'd want to know honestly how he did what he did, like to be able to go through the things that he did. And
Where I can edit all the pause out.
okay, good. Because you're going to need to. Shoot. That's tough.
Here, I'll tell you mine. And maybe it gives you something. Abraham Lincoln.
Okay.
Would be the first one.
Yep.
Pistol Pete Maravich would be the second favorite player growing up.
Yep.
And then the Apostle Paul. Those would be my 3 because Paul was just incredible to me. But those would be my 3.
I was going to pick Jesus like right off the bat. And I went, well,
I can't. No, off the table.
Yeah. I was like, but that's, I don't want to say too easy. I go, but I mean, if you believe that, he is everywhere
if you're
already,
gonna pick him, he better be first rather than when Michael Scott was talking about his 4 people.
Third.
And I think he said God fourth. Come on.
Lincoln was a good one too.
It's such a failure. He failed so much before becoming president and then the amazing things he did.
Trying to avoid all the.
It makes you feel better. This is the longest anyone's ever taken on an answer.
Not one I want to be proud of. It's kind of like the coaching earlier, like don't be afraid of, in this case, don't be afraid of your answer. Like there's no wrong answer.
No,
I don't think there's a billions of people to pick from. Let's we'll go with, they have to be non-fictional people.
Ooh, I would have Ted Lasso. I would love it. Yeah.
I would pick Russell Crowe's character in Gladiator. The first movie, the second one is not the best.
Awful. What a letdown.
Not the best.
What a letdown.
Russell Crowe's character in Gladiator.
Let's just throw Denzel in there. This will make it better.
It's my all-time favorite movie.
Yeah.
And his character's story and
I want to lead like him. Yeah. Best basketball movie of all time.
My recency, even though it's not even that recent, my recency bias is going to say Coach Carter.
That's a good one. Good one. Favorite holiday?
Thanksgiving.
What book would you give someone?
Why the Best Are the Best by Kevin Eastman.
Good one. Yeah, good one right there. I think based on your dinner guest, that is Jordan the GOAT.
He is 1A.
Okay. In basketball, who's the GOAT? So who's your 1A, who's 1B?
LeBron James. And I'm only going with that for the longevity and production to go with it is obviously unmatched, I would say. And I also think because of the scrutiny and the microscope that he has been under since he was 16 years old. Like he was put on a pedestal at 16.
That he made it through without a breakdown, without a scandal, and he won and he lived up to it. It's incredible.
And
the odds of that.
Yeah, and he's the best player on his teams. I know he's had very good teammates. I also think 1A's right-hand man is maybe one of the 2 most underrated players in NBA history.
Fair. That's fair.
I would put Akeem Olajuwon and Scottie Pippen on probably the Mount Rushmore of most underrated players in basketball.
Nice. Ooh, I like that one. That's a good question. Yeah.
So I don't try not to side one way or the other in that argument, in the LeBron Jordan argument, because too many times the kids who wear Jordan shoes who never saw the guy play other than YouTube highlights and some pretty cool shoes. The debate is like, he never lost a championship. He went 6-0. Okay, well, do we just discount like the years where he didn't make the playoffs? Or do we discount the years that, look, each era of basketball is special because of when it was played. Is there more talent widespread across the league? Are modern NBA players more naturally gifted? They're bigger, taller, longer. You've got 7-foot guards instead of 7 foot stand on the block, or 7 foot go set a screen for this guy. Like, the game has just changed so much. Would Michael Jordan be an all-time player in today's era? Of course, because he's an all-time player. I think most all-time players would succeed in any era. But I also don't like the argument of LeBron couldn't hack the physicality of the 80s and early mid-90s basketball.
6'8", 280.
Thank
He's
you.
going
6'8",
through
yes, thank
anybody
you.
at
6'8",
any time.
40-plus vert, runs the floor like a gazelle. Yeah, okay.
He's still fast. And he's
Yes.
still fast in a sprint. Like, you still see the speed. Just doesn't jump as high. Man,
Correct.
well done,
Like,
Coach. You took that a cool direction. Well done. Hey, man, this has been awesome. And what I love about getting to do this, what I love about coaching is you can pretty much take strangers, but because we both love the same thing and we're passionate about this, you can have a great conversation and learn a ton. And I just want to wish you the best of luck, and I appreciate so much your time today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak and talk about the things that have helped me along my journey, the experiences I've had to learn and go through along my journey, in hopes that someone out there, maybe a young assistant, an aspiring head coach, maybe a current head coach with experience but hasn't dealt with a certain situation before, that if they kind of like a clinic, if I go to a clinic and I get one thing, it was a success. If I can take one thing back, it's successful. So if someone gets one thing out of this, other than maybe the long hesitation on my 3 dinner guests, then
that'll be edited out.
Then it would be good.
Yeah.
then it was worth
you're
it.
right. You're right. 270 some of these, I've always gotten at least one thing, and usually more than one, of course. But yeah, it is fun to get to share the game, and I'll be rooting for you this year, and hope that we get to stay in touch, man. Thank you again.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI Podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.